Me to the Congo, you have to believe.
No, I don't
No,
actually. I know you were
it's
singing it yesterday. I didn't look it up. I should.
yeah. I think it's 30 years old.
30 years old. Okay.
30 years old, and I haven't listened to the song for 30 years indeed. And that's very surprising because it was in the charts back then, but never again actually. And I mean, since no, I never listened to the song again. Then it just recently came into mind. What was the song from Genesis? That was like I think post Phil Collins, I think, and they had a brand new singer in the band, and the first song was Congo.
I don't know.
Yeah, but this is irrelevant now. So yeah, to to kick this off. Today, I'm having my first or second stream on my travel channel, and we will speak about Congo. So this is not the typical travel destinations for some reasons. Frank will tell us in a few moments why it is a little bit, well, it is a bit of, this sounds a bit euphemistic to say this, but it's probably a little bit tough right now to travel
Definitely. So
Congo.
I, yeah. So I guess you heard about the situation with the war in East Congo, and that now it's actually even heavier. With the rebels coming from, well, they're Congolese, but they're like backed by Rwanda,
Yeah,
who at their turn they are backed by the United States, France, England, but it's like all those things are like non-official. But when you see then who are the huge benefiters
mm,
of that conflict, it's actually a corporate called Apple
okay.
because
Okay, let's come to this in a few
yeah.
moments. So could you bring us up to speed
Mhm.
in a few sentences what's going on right now in Congo and how has it been in the past 20 to 25 years? Because I'm old enough to remember that Congo used to be named Zaire
Yeah, yeah,
when I
yeah,
was at school,
yeah.
So it tells my age. So I'm 43 now, but I remember back at school that it was Zaire at that time in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Exactly. So, what do we know about Congo? So, before the colonization done by the Belgians, you had all different kind of little kingdoms, where you had people that were, well, like together within their territory, like we know here. But when actually then the colonizers came, like the Portuguese, the French, the
Belgians.
German, the Belgians, the English, they actually went then to first they sent the explorers and then they went to Berlin to that famous convention where they made those lines and they started to cut countries, by the hand. But that meant that countries that were normally and territories that were normally there already suddenly were like broken into three, four, five pieces and put together with other territories that had nothing to do with, right? So then, like my mom is born in 1951.
So
Uh,
you're half Congolese, half
yes,
Belgian.
Belgian,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. To
So
bring some additional information on that. So why are you a very qualified, competent um, um, person to
am
be
I?
interviewed on this subject?
Am
Yeah, I
I?
think so. I mean, you actually, I mean, at least you know more than the vast majority on this planet about Congo. You probably know more than most of people who would watch this stream
Yeah.
or I mean, there are not many people watching the stream, but I mean, like the ones that would watch it will probably not be experts on the Congo, I assume. So therefore, you are a very qualified person to speak about this.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's as well like if you're like someone that loves history, then you have to look up the history of Congo because it's fascinating. A lot happened. It's just like the history of the world and of humanity, and it's fascinating. Actually, even with what's still happening today, there is a lot of suffering, but there is also a lot of joy. There's a lot of disappointment, but a lot of excitement about things that are happening. So it's like really from one extreme to another, and it's really, if when you love history, it's really worth looking into it because you have everything in it. You have like success, you have like disappointment, you have drama, you have joy, you have whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, then like I said, when the Europeans made in that convention, they started to distribute the African lands. The Belgians had the territory that's now today the Democratic Republic of Congo, because you also have a French Congo,
Hmm.
and they also had Rwanda and Burundi. That was also for the Belgians. Now, my mom was born in 1951. In 1960, you have the independence,
Hmm.
and from Belgian Congo, you go to Congo. So actually, Congo, as we know today, it was created by the Belgians. That's why it was a Belgian Congo. Then it was
Hmm.
Congo, and like you said, I think it's in 1971. Mobutu. So in 1961, Mobutu seized power through a military coup. I don't know if
Hmm.
you heard of Patrice Lumumba.
Well, I have heard, but my knowledge is very rudimentary, and unfortunately, many people would consider Lumumba with rum probably, or something, an alcoholic drink, Lumumba, because it's
Oh,
named. It's yes,
seriously?
yes. I think that's a rum named by Lumumba.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because the first prime minister of Congo, Patrice Lumumba, is kind of like one of those early African heroes from the young African movement, like with the Thomas Sankara,
Yeah.
um, Francois. Um, if I could come on his name,
Hmm.
I will say it. But like on the moment, there was a little bit parallel with civil rights movement in the United States. There was like, because it's the same period, there was also that movement, more like liberty free, African free thinkers that came up, and Patrice Lumumba was someone like that. But when they actually got off the negotiations with Belgium regarding how to split with the colonization, they made actually really bad deals.
Hmm.
And when they understood actually that no one was there to help and that they were actually well, getting screwed, they actually made one mistake, and it was to ask the Russians for help, so the Soviet Union. So the CIA came in together with the Belgians, and they actually had Mobutu, that at that time was colonel in the Congolese army, to do a coup. So when Mobutu did a coup, he was backed by the West. So in
Hmm.
1965, he does a coup, and in 1971, we're getting there. He changes everything. He makes everything state owned, and he calls it Zaire.
He was a socialist, Lumumba.
Lumumba was actually more a social democrat,
Mhm.
and Mobutu kind of said that he was a socialist
Yeah.
because he also called himself a social democrat, but you know it was he was a lone ruler. He was kind of like more a tyrann, a dictator.
He
Um,
bec he became a dictator when
yeah,
he got in power. Like Mugabe was also
Mugabe,
someone
yeah. Yeah.
who started a revolution, was loved by by everyone, or not by everyone, by its people, and then once in power, he turned to be a lone ruler, doing silly stuff like I don't know, big birthday parties with 8,000 lobsters and whatever, and ruled the country for I don't know 40, 50 years. Zimbabwe, I think it was Zimbabwe, wasn't it? And so this there's a little bit of a similarity between Mugabe and Mobutu,
Yeah.
I think.
But with a
Or
lot of
correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if
no,
I'm wrong.
no, you're completely right, and you will see that actually a little bit everywhere over Africa, the same types of figures are rising. So, like I said, that free independence movement of the more African intellectuals that came up like with free ideas and self-governance for Africa. Well, that was not really in the economic interest of the West. So it was better actually to have someone there that didn't really care too much about developing the country and fairness, but that would just do as been told and get the population under control. And that's what you see. There was Mugabe, but in Coast, Senegal, French Congo, Namibia, you would have had that kind of same type of people rising.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like even up till today, I mean, in the end, Gaddafi, although would say he did a lot of good things for his people, he actually is also, he was at first also a part of that um, military coup part, people that were placed there as a puppet as well. It just
Mm.
when afterwards he started to become more independent and listen a little less that he became an issue. A little bit like with Saddam in Iraq. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So
And
yeah, go on.
no, so like for how many decades was Mobutu in power?
Yeah, so from 1965 till 1996. So I think
Okay, and that was the turning point. So it was Zaire
yeah,
until 1996, until Mobutu lost power.
yes, yes,
You
and
know,
that
it was
was
in a coup. In a coup, it happened in a coup. He didn't step down, I guess.
no, it was indeed funny enough. Kabila the father. So you have two Kabilas that were president. You had
Yeah.
Kabila the father, and then the one that became after that the youngest president in the world, Joseph Kabila, his son. But they were actually backed by the Rwandese, and
Okay.
they came in through the east, started to take over the land because the thing is Mobutu had a lot of alliances, but
Hmm.
in the west they also started to become actually really bored with him because there were a lot of allegations of humanitarian issues, you know, like starving people going to a prison without fair judgment, you know, like a lot of unacceptable things.
Hmm.
But the thing is, Mobutu had a unconditional support of our king at the time,
Hmm.
King Baudouin the First of Belgium.
Okay.
And during one of his speeches, the king criticized Mobutu and said, like, yeah, but okay. Now it's time also to take better care of your people because our king has actually he was it was kind of dubious, but
Hmm.
he really loved Zaire. He really loved Congo. He had also a true affection for its people. And when first there was the transition from the colonization to the independence, there were some issues with Lumumba complaining about the treatment during the colonization. The king didn't appreciate it, so he kind of as well supported the coup. He was really good friends with Mobutu, but he also saw the country going backwards time and
Mm-hmm.
time and time and time after again. So to him, I think it also did hurt him to see the people suffer, the
Mm-hmm.
country not moving forward, because I think that the Belgian king really had high expectations um, for Congo, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he drops Mobutu. That means that all the West drops Mobutu. They start to back Kabila, Laurent Désiré Kabila. He starts the civil war in 1996. And by 1997, Mobutu is being overthrown, and Kabila the father becomes
Mm-hmm.
changes the name to Congo.
Mm-hmm. And so, who's now running the country, at least officially?
Uh, so actually, Kabila the father, Laurent Désiré, got murdered by one of his loyal people, and you would see that actually in Africa, a lot of those presidents, when they get murdered, it's often by someone that was close to them for
Mm.
years. So
So
that's all.
it's a
Yeah,
smooth, well, it's usually not a smoothful transition of power.
no. But then his son, Joseph, became the
Yeah.
youngest president of the world, and he became then
It's
the
it's not what is his name? The Austrian chancellor, Sebastian Kurz. So Sebastian Kurz was 31 when he became chancellor. So he
and
was
in,
still younger than
but
him.
in what year?
Quite recently, 2015,
Yeah.
2018. Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is in 1997. At that
Okay.
time,
Okay.
he
At that
became
time,
the
yeah.
youngest. Yes, yes. Because in the meantime, I know there is also Ibrahim Traoré that's
Yeah.
younger. So yeah, in the meantime, there were younger people, but at that
Yeah.
time that
At
he
that
became,
time.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I see. I see.
Um, yeah, and then on a moment he did then the elections. I think it was in 2019. So you have to imagine he became actually president from 2003 because Laurent Désiré got assassinated in 2003, and
Yeah.
he stayed president until 2019,
Oh, well.
16 years. So
Okay.
at the end, people were like, no, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And then actually since 2019, it's Felix Tshisekedi that's the president of Congo.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, well, a lot of turmoil that has happened in the past, I don't know, probably 100 years or like, especially in the last 60 years. So, I would like to know, as your mom, she grew up in Congo, right?
Yeah.
So, how does she see it? So, when would she say was the safest time, the best time to live in Congo?
Hmm. I think the 70s and the 60s and the 70s.
When Mobutu was in power.
Yeah, but when there was still money around and people were not suffering.
Yeah.
Don't forget that when the Belgians left, they did leave with very good infrastructure,
Hmm.
uh, a good system running. Everything was running well. It just that the money that should have been used and to do the maintenance and modernizing and innovation was always used. So since the Belgian when they build things, it's meant to last.
Yeah.
It they kind of got away with it during 20 25 years. But
Hmm.
once it became all too old and it could not, the infrastructure could not fall anymore,
Yeah.
holes in the road, no trains driving,
Hmm.
no money to pay the pensions and that kind of things.
Hmm.
Then we're talking about end of the 70s, beginning
Yeah.
of the 80s. So actually from 1960 till around 1980,
Hmm.
the country started to go in decline,
Yeah.
but the huge decline started very at an accelerated rate after 1980.
Okay. Okay. So it's actually connected with the withdrawal of the Belgians from Congo as well.
I would more say with bad maintenance and governance,
Mm. Yeah.
like whether it's because I don't think it's really about the Belgians. I think it's about
Mm.
the people that are maintaining it and taking care of it. Like if you would replace them by Chinese and they
Mm.
take care of it as well as the Belgians, like there would
Yeah.
have no problem. And if you replace them by Congolese that would have taken as well care
Mm.
of it as the Belgians, that
Yeah,
would also
well,
not have been.
of course, I think it's always a conglomerate of many things that come into play. You cannot just break it down to colonization or independence and Mobutu. There are so many um, factors that come into play in such a development, and you mentioned this just earlier in this call that Apple or corporate plays a significant role in what is happening in Congo right now due to the what is it called, cobalt, or due to this
Coltan,
um, yeah,
col-
coltan, and these resources which are very rare and crucial to manufacture iPhones or smartphones, and so this plays a significant role today in many ways, um, and but also the things that happened in the past do uh, do also play also a part with it. So it's not that you can break down in a development just because of one incident or one thing that happened. It's always far more complex than that. But what I would
yeah.
like to know as well. So when was the last time you were there in Congo?
Oh, 2016?
Okay, that's not too long ago.
No,
Okay, so it's
no.
it's 8 9 years ago.
Yeah, that's well, it has to become long because my cousins are asking me when are you coming back? When are you coming over? And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll come next year. That's 5 years ago or something.
Mm. And why is it so? Is it because you are afraid, or you just had no time, or it was just not the right moment to travel?
Well, the thing is, Congo, it's like 12 hours
Hmm.
flying.
Yeah,
And the thing is, if you go less than a month,
yeah,
it was too short.
okay, yeah,
So the thing is that like I want to go, but
yeah.
I also just don't have a month that I can
Energy,
give.
resources. Yeah,
No, like I mean, because I have family, I could stay there with family and stuff.
yeah,
It would be a very cheap stay, but it's just that also like work wise,
yeah,
like living wise with the children, and so I just don't have like a month to give away, and like a week is just a waste.
yeah,
It's
yeah. Yeah, I think I can relate to that. Just the way to get there is so hard, so tough, so exhausting, and then you need to stay longer to, to yeah, to be relieved from all these hassles that you had from traveling. And I can relate to that. But I also would like to know, when you go there, how is it for you? Is it like a family visit, or is it also like a big adventure for you?
Yeah, both, because you have to so actually, like, sometimes try to realize you're on this planet, right? Like your room. I'm in my room. We're talking through this device. We're having that conversation, but we can just, like, go online, buy a ticket. Tomorrow be
Mm,
like
yeah.
in Morocco, in Brazil, in South Africa. But yeah, no, because my mom is from Congo. I decide to go to Congo. A family there.
Hmm.
I want to meet them, and then actually you realize that their lives are actually, in one hand, completely different as yours,
Mm,
and then on the other hand, also exactly the same. And that, like ethic code, morality, habits and stuff, they're like pretty much the same, but also not
hmm.
entirely the same. So it's um, it's fascinating actually to be
Hmm.
um, immersed
Hmm.
in that culture. Yeah, it's, some experiences you
Hmm.
cannot express them in words. You
Hmm.
just have
Yeah.
to be there and experience it. And the thing is, like, to me, they're like the friendliest people on earth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
And you feel safe there, basically?
yeah, I do, I do.
Hmm.
Yeah, the thing is, I think it's funny in a certain way, because um, I've never experienced it as it being dangerous for
Hmm.
me to go to Congo, but by aging and receiving that question more and more, I'm wondering, should I?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I see.
Be-
Yeah.
because, yeah, no, like, truth is, there is criminality, there are violence. Like, even in my family, not long ago, someone was victim of violent crime, and
I must
especially
tell
in.
you something. I know. I think maybe I should not to um, go too deep into that because of um, you know of respecting the privacy of someone else. But I know someone who's actually from Congo who lives in Ireland. She she also experienced something like this within her closest family circle. And yeah, I don't know, but this could be just a coincidence, but but it's real that you know s that's tremendous crimes happening also in Congo. Yeah.
Yeah, and the issue now, especially because now I would not go. Now, definitely, I would not consider going to Congo because of the war, right?
Yeah.
Situation can explode any day. Um, I mean, there are, even, I think, if I'm remembering well from what I read in the paper, the Europeans, the Belgians, the French have their soldiers in place to do evacuations if needed.
Hmm.
So that tells you that the situation is really serious, right?
Yeah.
And although sometimes we can criticize it, most of the time the advice of the Belgian government, when it comes to traveling to Congo,
Mm.
is spot on.
Reliable.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
reliable. Yeah.
Hmm. And even as someone who's more involved, at least on a personal level, do you really understand what's happening there? Who's fighting for power? Who are the involved groups that are committing crimes or even war crimes? Because when we look at Syria, for example,
Uh,
it's really hard to understand as someone who doesn't live there who's fighting against who is building allies, and who's fighting against who. Like in Syria, it's really hard to understand what's going on there. So would you say that you really understand what's going on there?
To be honest, fully no. I have an idea. I know that there's a group M23, the
Hmm.
March 23 movement. They are backed by Rwanda.
Yeah,
So what they do, they have kind of a control over some mines, and
yeah.
they export those mines, those resources to Rwanda, and then actually Rwanda sell them to the rest of the world. So, for
Hmm.
instance, they're like one of the third of fourth biggest exporter of cobalt and coltan, and they don't even have it in their country, but you know where
Hmm.
it comes from. But the thing with the Marsh movement, they are Congolese people. They
Yeah,
are, in, one would say, freedom fighters, others would
yeah,
say rebels.
yeah.
And to be honest, that's something I didn't go deep enough in it.
Hmm.
What pains me the most in it is that there are Congolese brothers and sisters
Hmm.
killing each other, um,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's not in their advantage,
Hmm.
right? So, what are their demands exactly? Um, I don't know. Like my mom, she would know. What I
Yeah.
do know is, in general, no one is really um, happy with
Hmm.
the current president,
Yeah.
and most people want him to go.
Hmm.
And a lot of people believe that with another president, at least conversations and negotiations should be able to go on with that M23 movement.
Hmm.
Although, if I remember well, the M23 movement said that they would only stop once they arrive in Kinshasa. And Kinshasa is the
Hmm.
capital. If you
Yeah.
have the capital, you have the parliament, you have the country, right? So, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And as someone who only occasionally travels to Congo, because you have family there, but you are obviously for them someone who's from Europe, or they would probably immediately see that you live somewhere else, due to the way you act, the way you dress, and
Yeah.
probably also the way you look. I hope that's not. I hope you're not taking
So,
this personal, but I think you know what I mean. And
yeah,
so
They call me Muzungu.
Muzungu,
Muzungu, Muzungu means white.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm the white guy.
yeah. So you experience white privilege also in
I
Congo?
It's funny that you're asking that, but yeah, the only place on earth where I do
Yeah. Hmm.
experience white privilege is in Congo.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. Like, but I'm asking for nothing, but it's really like um, I'm getting considered differently by both black and
Hmm.
white people when I'm in Congo
Yeah.
than by both white and black people in Europe. Completely
Yeah.
differently. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I heard that from other black
yeah.
people people who are mixed who travel occasionally to Africa, that they experienced similar something
Yeah,
similar like you did. Yeah.
because the funny thing is that white privilege would not be about only the skin of my color, but also
Hmm.
but more about the fact that I'm from Europe,
Yeah.
as there are mixed race people in Congo themselves,
Yeah.
um, that, let's say, are just part of the population. They don't have that sort of
Hmm.
white privilege. I would say it's more like a Western privilege, or
Yeah.
even in some cases like what you have in a lot of societies, also a rich privilege. So when you
Yeah.
have reached reach often you're privileged in all
Yeah.
societies.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
But then you have, I wouldn't say it's white privilege, but more a certain Western privilege, because
Hmm.
let's face it, when you're in the West, in the middle class, whether it's a lower middle class or the higher middle class or the average middle class, you will always be kind of certain in status or wealthier,
Hmm.
let's say wealthier
Yeah.
than the average Congolese. So in that regards, I do feel that you're considered higher, whether
Yeah.
you're white, mixed race, or black
Hmm.
in Congo.
Yeah.
So um, the fact that
Mm.
black
Yeah.
people that grow up
Mm.
in Europe, they
Mm.
experience that same white privilege. That's why actually in Congo it would be more a Western privilege than a white
Hmm.
privilege.
Hmm. Yeah. But it's also everywhere it's probably easy to spot if someone is really rich. Also in Congo. Just
Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
mm.
Yeah, but it's also then the thing is, the funny thing is, it's also really easy to spot when they are fake rich. You know,
Mm.
those people are like often I think it's in Europe it's easy. It's way more difficult to spot someone
Yeah.
that's fake rich. In
Yeah.
Congo, I can pick them out immediately. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
poser. That guy is a
Yeah.
poser. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that when I traveled to Zanzibar, I was told that there are many fake Maasai, you know?
No, what's it?
My Maasai, that's a tribe in Tanzania and
Mhm.
in Zanzibar, and they are probably best known in Europe due to a book called The White Maasai. That's the biography of a Swiss lady who married to a Maasai,
Mhm.
and the book title is named after her biography. And so they're actually, due to this book, many people associate Maasai with Tanzania or
Yeah.
Zanzibar, and they actually want to see a Maasai. And so there are
Okay.
many who are dressed like Maasais, but they aren't Maasais. You know what I mean?
Oh
Yeah,
God. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Look, that's also one of the beauties I would say of Congo. So the thing is, back in the day, you would have some people that they get born in a village, but the first post where they can go declare their uh,
Hmm.
born child is like, let's say, a good distance away. So they, let's say, they then only declare the child when they get there, but in some cases it could have been like a week after, a month after,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
year after, even 2 years after, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes even longer. So that's how sometimes you would have those in football, especially those young African players of 16 years
Yeah,
that look.
that's actually one famous case. Maybe you have heard of this. What is his name? He played for Dortmund. Um, wow, what's on with my memory? Mukoko.
Mukoko. Okay,
I
yeah,
think he was born in Zaire. Oh, sorry,
yeah.
sorry, in Congo, sorry. And he actually then moved to Germany with his family, and he was one of the best. He was actually the best player, I think, in Germany, on even on a European level in all the youth teams for years. But the closer he got to senior level,
Mhm.
his performance was not really that outstanding anymore.
Mhm.
And so there had been some reports that his age might be not correct, that he is probably 2 years younger as
Yeah,
he pretends to be. And so there were it was a very sensitive topic, actually,
yeah.
so it was very sensitive because people were afraid of that this could be a racist issue. But it's right now, even very leftist um, newspapers assume that he's actually 2 years older, and that's his birth certificate, which was actually issued in the German embassy of Kinshasa. That it well, that's original, but it's somehow um,
Yeah, and
not correct, you know?
yeah, and I think that's the misconception there is that people would often say like, oh, they've been cheating, but
Mm,
actually it's not cheating. It's more that the infrastructure is not there to, like when in Belgium a child is born, it's the
yeah,
hospital immediately that make the registration, right?
yeah,
But back in the day, like, and even now, often children would get born or at home or
yeah,
in a little dispensary where they
yeah,
don't do that registration automatically. So the time that you go yourself doing that registration, like I said, it can take a week, 2 weeks, it can take a month, it can take a year, it can take two, yeah, Coco, 2 year or longer.
mm,
But that's not by bad intentions. It's just that, yeah, it just I will do it once I get there more than I will
mm,
do it immediately. No, like I have other things to do right now. Once I get to the post, I will declare the child. And
yeah.
then what they do at the post, they're not asking when was the child
Mm.
born. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, she declared the child today, so that's his
Yeah,
birthday. See what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I see what you mean, and I can even tell you a funny story that my father-in-law, who passed away recently, he was born in the 50s in a very yeah, in a very urban, not urban area, in a very rural area in
Rural, yeah.
Turkey, and they did not know his exact birth date, um, because it was not really standard to bring the child to hospital and to register the child there. And so they only did this years after, and they just assumed it was probably the 1st or 2nd of January, but they could not even surely say which year it was. And my father-in-law then asked his mother, um, "Mother, when exactly was I born?" And she said, "Yeah, you were born when the tree in our garden was blooming." And so year after year, he looked at the tree, and sometimes it was April, sometimes it was January, the
Oh
other year it was
no.
May. So so they um, just made it very random. His birth date it was the 2nd of January, I think, and many in Turkey actually have the 2nd or 1st of January as their birth date. Um, and probably he was indeed 2 years older than his official age. So that was in the 50s or 60s in rural areas quite normal, which sounds so unimaginable for Europeans
Yeah.
because for example, I'm a member at Ancestry. I don't know if you know Ancestry. I did a DNA. I sent in a DNA test, and I actually could go back like 250 years in my family tree because it's all documented. So it is documented from 1600 something. So this is the latest date I can go back
Yeah.
in time, and in Turkey, until the 50s or 60s, it was not common practice to register your kids when they were born, you know, and that's a funny thing to know, and people find it very crazy when I tell them this story.
Yeah, but for me, it's like, ah, seriously. So it's also in Turkey. It was not only because the story that I'm telling you about Congo, it's true for a lot of um, African countries, like what you say about Bukoko, but Cameroon,
Mm.
Senegal, Ivory Coast. But I'm actually surprised that actually it was also a reality in Turkey. Uh,
It was, and but on the other hand, there was a big difference between cities and rural areas.
Yeah.
So, and there are probably still villages in Turkey, which are like, which could be still like, which still look like 200 as they were built 200 years ago. So now it has changed. I think it has changed in the past 10, 20 years. But until recently, there was a extremely big difference between people who lived in cities like Istanbul or Ankara and people who were born in villages. So, for example, my mother-in-law, who was born in Istanbul, she lived a totally different life than her husband. And so her husband was actually the first one in the family who ever left his village together with his siblings. And so what I just told you does not apply at all to the life of my mother-in-law, you know?
Yeah.
So probably she can go back centuries in with the birth certificates, but he cannot. So that's quite I find this very mind-blowing.
It is. The only thing is, um, probably that would have been as well the case for my parents. Um, but the thing is that on my mom's side, we kind of have history books written about her great grandfather.
Yeah.
So that's how we can trace it.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, we got a little bit lucky there because actually, once beyond that, it would also be difficult to trace it. And when I'm talking about great grandfather, that's the mid 1800s, late 1800s. So
Yeah.
that's really not that far. You're talking about the Middle Ages, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
Well, I was talking about 1600
yeah, the
something. Yeah.
1600s. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Oh,
Mm.
that's Renaissance more. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
the new time in the Renaissance. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now we were going to talk about tourism, and look,
Yeah.
where we got there.
Yeah,
No,
we
but I
didn't
think,
talk too much about tourism, but I mean, it was a great excursion.
but the last thing actually I wanted that I was thinking, do you know Romelu Lukaku?
Yes.
Do you know that when he was 16, he was already like almost 2 meters and like was
Yeah.
so the thing is what we have doubt spoken about, right? And
Yeah.
that's when it kind of came out that some of those players indeed they were 2 years older, 3 years older than their real age. That's what they would actually say about Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
The only thing is with him it cannot work.
Hmm.
Why?
Why? Yeah.
He was born in Belgium.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 No, that's true. Yeah. That's
So
true. Yeah.
yeah, so but it's funny how sometimes because things like that happen, people can be quick to make assumptions,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then oh yeah, but no, yeah, indeed, actually, yeah, it was born in Belgium. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. End of discussion. That's a clear proof. If he was born in Belgium, then his age is correct.
yeah,
No discussion about that. Yeah.
I guess so. But yeah, I think it's with a lot of things like that that you kind of if you don't kind of and I think that's why you were so because the story that I told about the saying the village and only go register the child
Mm.
when they have an availability. Often I would be no, but that's not possible. But the people
Mm.
have difficulties imagining. I think that it was great that actually you were already confronted with some
Yeah.
kind of similar that you were totally not surprised and that actually I was a surprised one in this
Mm.
case.
Yeah, yeah, but I like this. It was really hard to have a debate about this because some people talked it down and called this out as racism. But I think it's not correct to label it as such a thing because there are very different It's a very different setting in Congo, and it is as you just have said. And now it's we have reached a point where it seems very likely that his age was not correct. Whereas you're absolutely right that you cannot have the same discussion with Romelu Lukaku because
Yeah.
he was born in Belgium, you know. So
Yeah, I don't believe that bringing it up is a question of racism. What I do believe is if, you know, was he aware, yes or no? I think it's more like, can we first establish is it true, yes or no?
it
Okay, if it's true, was he aware, yes or no? See what I mean? Uh,
hard to tell. I don't know. I think he has been really. Um, treated badly by his parents, but not only by his parents, but also these football managers who look after talents like him.
no.
So he was simply too young and not capable to um, to handle all these things. So I think his career has reached a very low point now
Mhm.
because he has been surrounded by people who wanted to benefit from his great talent, which he definitely had, regardless of his age. And unfortunately, he was simply too young to really make the right decisions at
Mhm.
that time, you know? So I think it's a very, very sad story, actually. You really should look it up. You're probably not so much into it because it was more like a German topic, not so much in Belgium
But
or
I,
elsewhere.
I have to admit that in most of the cases that I've heard about it, because like, I guess that for the general public, those cases you hear about them when they're like made public, like in the media. Now
Mm,
I have heard some cases like even within the family in general, the person, like how I've experienced it. In general, the person him or she isn't aware of it. It's only like around
yeah,
the adult age that then
yeah.
they mention
And
something like
when he
that.
becomes aware
Yeah,
of it, then it's already too late, you know?
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't blame him for that. And I think it's really tough to earn so much money at such a young age and being hyped so much. I think this is not doing any good for
No.
anyone. Um, yeah, but well, that's a side story of the
Yeah.
actual topic right now. But it has to do with it,
I, I
anyways. And
I I guess if I was in his shoes, the thing that would be the most painful, I think, is being kind of treated like a cheater when
mm,
you actually never had the intention to cheat, and that
mm,
when actually now whatever you do, if you let's say let's say now take establish, because I also kind of think there is a possibility that he's 2 years older, right?
mm,
So now that they establish it and they come out, like, there is nowhere he can go, right?
yeah,
Like whatever his intention was or not his intention, like, since he didn't react, if he's already, let's say, if now he's already aware of it and it would be like
yeah.
that,
What can he do? Yeah, then he would admit this.
yeah,
It would be backfire, you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think this is it's really easy
to
to
judge. Yeah,
judge. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, well, we are reaching the end of our lunch breaks right now.
yeah,
Was very it was a very good conversation. Very interesting, entertaining as well. We didn't dig too much. Well, we didn't talk too much about tourism. Maybe we can do this the next time.
exactly.
Um, but
I think
we
it was
went
a
with the
really,
flow.
yeah, I think it was a really good intro. Now people also have a little bit of background,
Yeah.
because obviously in times of war now I would not advise on going on tourism in Congo,
No.
but I do believe that we can talk about when there will be a time of peace and the nice things that can be done there,
Yeah.
because I did
Hopefully,
send, yes.
or even before. Yeah,
even before. I did send some links there. Look at them. There are things we
yeah,
can discuss.
yeah. Sure.
Um, but yeah, there are like it's such a beautiful country, but it's getting
I can
destroyed for
imagine it.
yeah, but it's getting destroyed for greed.
Yeah, and it's so big. It's so big, and so many people who are making themselves rich from the resources that the Congo has, like no other. It has resources that no other country on Earth has, and unfortunately, that attracts many people who are only looking for that and exploit others. That's unfortunately what we are seeing now.
All right, we
Yeah,
have to
all
go.
right. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was a pleasure and talk to you soon again.
Yeah. Uh, Definitely. Are you sure it was recording?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
I'm
was.
joking.
It was.
All right. Talk to you soon. Like, look, actually, those fit me very well during lunch breaks.
Yeah, me too.
So
Me too. Yeah, let's do it more often. Yeah.